afternoon, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Stock Market Today. I'm your host, Alyssa Corum, joined by Ed Carson. And on today's show, we're going to, of course, drill down into the action for the major indexes. And we're going to take a look at 3 gig economy plays, Ed, that are looking pretty interesting.
That's right, Ali. We're going to take a look at Uber, which clearly broke out today, DoorDash, which briefly hit a record high, and Airbnb, which is sort of flashing some early buy signals.
All right, well, first, let's look at the NASDAQ here, closing the day with a gain after spending some of the day in negative territory, but up 0.3% for the session. The S&P 500 slightly in positive territory, up about 1.5, and the Dow up about 0.2%. And we also had the Russell, a really strong day, up about 1.6%. So interesting to see that continued strength out of small caps. And, you look underneath the surface, Ed, and the NASDAQ 100 actually underperformed a bit. The NASDAQ composite, of course, finishing up a little bit. But what do you think that this means for the kind of stocks that we're trading?
It's actually really good news again. I mean, yesterday we had a retreat and it was led by the big techs, and today not as, some of those big techs struggled. Tesla rebounded, but most of the big techs had weak days, but that also means room. It lets the moving averages catch up a little bit while the growth stocks continue to do well, some of the high flyers. So it's actually sort of ideal action, very constructive today in the indexes and really positive in a lot of portfolios.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of investors are looking further out into 2021 as we start to roll out the vaccine and we get on the other side of this pandemic. So a lot of economic recovery plays now in the spotlight, and Uber among them. I mean, Uber's really been on the rise ever since the election had some favorable legislation for gig economy stuff, also a strong earnings report. So it really popped out of the base over here, but it's been continuing to climb and offering investors a couple of different buying opportunities along the way, with the stock gaining another 7% today in heavy volume.
Yeah, it rebounded from the 10-week line fairly recently, and now it's sort of cleared that flat base. So that offered some buy point there. The Uber Eats business is doing very well because everybody's trying to stay at home and get food delivered to them. I mean, the ride-hailing business isn't doing so well, but to be fair, Lyft, which is basically all ride-hailing, that sort of cleared a consolidation too. So there's definitely a lot of feeling that things are going to get better in that regard. They're still not profitable, but obviously I think people are definitely expecting a much better year for 2021 for Uber.
Yeah, and a strong gain today. But we've been talking about this one on IBD Live as it's been consolidating with that pullback to the 10-week line. So we'll see if it can continue higher from here, Ed. But speaking of food delivery, we also got to talk about DoorDash, ticker Dash here. Pretty recent IPO, the stock trying to move out of an IPO base. A strong gain today, up about 15%. Now, it looks like it hit a little bit of resistance at the high from the first day of trade, but that relative strength line, of course, with this 15% gain today in new high ground.
Yeah, it's a record close. This is why you don't buy IPOs on the first day. I mean, it had a nice first day, and then it just turned south, and only today is it back. And sometimes it can take months, years, or never comes back to that first day high. So nice to see that. Certainly it broke out. It'd be great if it could form sort of a handle, consolidate in some kind of way, because digest this massive gain from basically like 130 or so up to 200 in just a week or two. But sometimes it won't. But this is definitely one to be looking at. Look at that huge growth. It's a real company. Those are real. I mean, that's not just 10 million over 8 million kind of. That's real money. It'll be interesting to see if that momentum can keep up that kind of growth when the economy opens up. But obviously, people are feeling fairly confident that it'll have a bright future.
That's right. And, with a lot of these IPOs, if you're not seeing the profitability, we like focusing on that top line growth. How strong is the sales growth? That is a pretty key metric to look at with a lot of these newly public companies. And, we'll get to this also with Airbnb, which we're about to take a look at, but there's other ways to kind of splice and dice these charts to find maybe a little bit more of an aggressive entry. So you maybe don't have to wait for it to be up 15%, getting into new highs before you're getting into the stock. So speaking of, Ed, let's take a look at Airbnb. ABNB is the ticker here. Went public pretty much around the same time as DoorDash did. I don't know if it was the exact same day, maybe it was, but this stock gaining about 8.6% today, clearing a number of alternate entries here on its own. And Airbnb's fundamentals really aren't that great right now, as you can imagine. Coronavirus, the pandemic and shutdowns really hitting that business, but this too is seen as an economic recovery play.
Yeah, I think, people expect when the vaccinations come back, travel return, and probably leisure travel will return first. And that's probably more like the Airbnb because, the business travel, it may be quite a while before that rebounds. But, people might say, I'm going to go travel. I'm going to, I can finally go out. So you definitely have to look past that. You just have to sort of assume that things are going to be better in 2021. And, you just will have to see. It depends on the vaccination rates and so on. But yeah, I cleared some early entries, downward sloping trend line. If you really, that's steep, and but that's what you can do, or just the last couple of days that it cleared, just over that area. If you want to see that as an early entry, you could argue that at intraday it sort of hit resistance at another sort of short-term level, where it sort of hit trouble before. Then it has the real buy point a little higher than that. So there could be ways you can try to step in. Look, these are IPO bases are high risk. There's the potential payoff of really big gains, but you have to recognize that things are wide and loose sometimes, and they have these big gains, big losses. It's not for the faint of heart. You may want to start with small positions if you go in.
Yes, size your position appropriately with these IPO stocks. We've been keeping tabs on quite a few of them. I mean, Snow, you can't just plant your flag in the ground and say, I'm in Snow for the long haul. This one was a little tricky to handle when it first came public. A couple of early alternate entries that you could have done finally made a huge move, but even that was short-lived. So you really have to be careful with these recent IPOs. And we've done a lot of studies also of, okay, after that first IPO move and the stock, maybe it kind of moves sideways for an extended period of time, then has another run as it's turning profitable or as that sales growth is picking up, and then it comes back on our radar. We obviously don't know how it's going to exactly play out with the likes of an Airbnb or a DoorDash. I mean, Uber kind of had the type of move that we're talking about was really off of our radar for a while until this recent move that we're talking about. But good to have on your radar because they can provide you with some really explosive gains.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. That is it for today's show. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, the conversation is going to continue where, Ed?
On IBD Live.
That's right. Take it away. You do the promo today.
Okay, IBD Live. We start every day at around 9:20 Eastern, and we run till 7:40, like over hour and a half every day. We talk about the market. We're looking at actionable stocks as they're breaking out. We looked at a lot of these stocks today, many more, and so you really get that nice community atmosphere. People who are watching the show, they contribute a lot of interesting things. Hey, this is breaking out, and we bring it up. I just think it's a great opportunity to find great stocks and just to get the right investing mindset, to be a successful investor.
That's right. And of course, watching the show live is the ideal way to do it. But even if you can't, we archive the episodes and post them later in the day. We have a ready list and a watch list that our team of market experts is updating and curating every single day for everyone, which is pretty great. And then we're also walking you through maybe some question. Maybe you have Leaderboard or Swing Trader or even MarketSmith. We are answering common questions that we get on those platforms. So it's a really great way, like you said, great community and a lot of great ideas coming out of that. So we hope you join us, investors.com/IBD Live. We'll see you there tomorrow morning, and we'll see you right back here after the close.